welcome to this episode of Children's Church Online. It's great to be with you again. If you haven't already watched the 2 episodes previous to this one, I suggest you watch them first. They're available on the Beacon YouTube channel and also through the church's WhatsApp and through our Facebook pages as well. So we're going to continue today on that journey we're taking with Joseph. In our story section last week, we learned about Joseph and how he was locked up in prison. Now we're going to go on to reading through the next bit of this story about Joseph. As always, it's going to be a child-friendly version, but here's the book and the chapter and verses for you on screen so you can follow this. I suggest you do this with your children, as this will be really beneficial for them to see it in the Word of God. But I'm going to go ahead with the child-friendly version. Joseph was still in prison. God was with Joseph and helped him look after the other prisoners. The prisoners trusted him. One night, 2 prisoners had bad dreams and told Joseph about them. God helped Joseph tell them the meaning of their dreams. Joseph was in prison for over 2 years, but God had a plan for him. One night, the king had a bad dream. He woke up in a fright. Then he fell asleep again and had another bad dream. In the morning, the king was so worried that he asked his magicians and wise men if they could tell him what his dreams meant. But they weren't clever enough. Then the king's wine steward remembered about a man he'd met in prison. He said to the king, "When I was in prison, I had a strange dream, and so did the baker. A young Hebrew was there, and he explained our dreams, and things turned out just as he said." So the king sent for Joseph, who washed and changed into new clothes and came to the king. "I have had a couple of bad dreams," said the king. "Can you explain them?" "I can't, your majesty," said Joseph, "but God will help me." So the king told Joseph his dreams. He said, "First, I saw 7 fat cows coming out of the river Nile, and then 7 thin cows came up. The thin cows ate up the fat cows. Then I saw 7 ripe ears of corn growing on a stalk. Then 7 other ears of corn sprouted, weak and scorched, but they swallowed up the full ears of corn. What does this dream mean?" Joseph told the king that God was telling him what was going to happen. "All the 7s mean 7 years," he said. "There will be 7 years when everything grows well, and you will have good harvests. Then there will be 7 years of famine, when hardly any food will grow at all, so there won't be much to eat. You should appoint someone to be in charge of collecting food during those good years to save up for the years when hardly anything grows." The king thought this was a good plan. "We will never find a better man than Joseph," the king said. "I will put him in charge." So Joseph was made governor of Egypt and given fine robes to wear and a chariot to ride in, and he made plans to help the people through the famine. So, we found out today that Joseph was in prison for 2 years. And in them 2 years, he had this gift of interpretation of dreams. So basically, God had given him the ability in which to understand dreams. So he was telling people what their dreams meant, which is great. And that leads him to a point of word of mouth from someone else to the king's chambers, getting clothed in new things and then given the opportunity to interpret or to understand the king's dreams. And he gave him the interpretation, but he emphasised that God was always helping him. And then the king gives him this position of being able to take over and take care of the grain that was needed for the 7 years of famine that was coming up. And, it's a story of God always taking care of us and always giving us this plan. He's got a plan and a purpose for all of our lives. And God was taking care of Joseph. And as we see, as the story unfolds for its final chapter next week, we will see what happens when Joseph's brothers turn up again. So now we're going to go on to our craft corner, which is linked in with this teaching. Hi and welcome to this edition of Caroline's Craft Corner, which is linked in with not only our story but our episode of Children's Church Online. So we're going to get on to our crafting. So today you will need your pens, your pencils. If you've got some A4 card, that would be great. And some scissors, so assistance with younger children needed on this craft. Today's craft, we're going to start by taking our piece of A4 card and folding it in half and cutting it in half. Now you've got that folded, what you're going to need to do for your next stage is to cut out a cloud shape. But what you need to remember is to leave the fold. So this is going to open like so. So what you're going to need to do is leave the fold where it's folded and trim round and make a cloud shape. With your cloud shape, you're going to put a design on it. So I'm just going to move this a little bit closer so you can see mine. So I've put a bed with some Z's on it. So this is to do with Joseph interpreting dreams. So you can sketch it first like I have. Once you've drawn your bed design on your card, on your cardboard cloud should I say, you're going to decorate it. So you can decorate in whichever colours you want. Make sure you leave the middle of it where you can open it blank, as we're going to put something on it in the next stage. I have finished my cloud, so here it is. Ta-da! So here's the bed all coloured in, and I've coloured it in with some nice colourful felt tips. You can do the same if you've got anything other than felt tips or any craft bits that you can decorate with. You can do that as well. And obviously inside, I told you that we were going to put something inside. Maybe you might be able to guess what's going inside. Maybe the memory verse that we learned. We're going to go over it again so you can see it inside here, as I've put it up here, there, as you can see. And we'll just go through it on screen with you now, and it says this: all things are done according to God's plan and decision, and God chose us to be his own people. Isn't it amazing that God chooses us? It's amazing. And God chose Joseph as well, didn't he? That we've been learning in our story. And God chooses you as well to be a part of his plan. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Caroline's Craft Corner, also Children's Church Online, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.